gentlemen, welcome to the Seamaster Qatar 2016 ITTF World Tour Grand Final. Welcome to Doha. It is men's singles, round of 16. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Germany, the number 8 seed, world ranked number 6, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV. Would you please welcome from Hong Kong, China, the number 13 seed, world ranked number 19, TANG Peng. Ladies and gentlemen, the officials, the umpire from the Philippines, Rachel and the assistant umpire from Yemen, Nufel Al-Haji. Ladies and gentlemen, it is round one, men's singles, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV against TANG Peng.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Seamaster Qatar 2016 ITTF World Tour Grand Finals, coming to you live from Doha, Qatar. I'm Adam Bobrow, and with me, Paul Hand. How you doing, Paul?
Good, Adam. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. Should be exciting. We've got the European hope, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, world ranked number 6, the 8th seed in the tournament at 28 years old, a young father to Emma, with Jenny OVTCHAROV, his former table tennis playing Swedish wife. And at 28 years old, this will be his 9th World Tour Grand Finals. He's a bronze medalist from the 2012 Olympic Games. 2015 won the European Games, and everything that Europe had to offer. TANG Peng on the other side of the table from Hong Kong will be coached by Lu Guodong right there, the brother of Lu Guoliang, who won last night's ITTF Star Award for Star Coach 2 years in a row. TANG Peng, world ranked number 19, was former top number, well, I guess the number 1 player from Hong Kong until Wang Chunting passed him by, taking a top 10 spot, but for years had been number 1 in Hong Kong. So world ranked number 19, he's the 13th seed, he's 35 years old. This is his 4th World Tour Grand Finals. And TANG Peng has a 3-year-old son with Tia Yana, who led the Hong Kong women for some time. Now TANG Peng, 2010, was the doubles champion for the World Tour Grand Finals. It's going to be an interesting match here. Head-to-head, they've played 8 times, and 7 of them have gone to Dima. He won the last 7, starting in 2010, has not lost to TANG Peng. It was in 2006, so I guess since 2006 he has not lost to TANG Peng. That was the Kuwait Open. And if you do a little bit of quick math, at 18 years old, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, that was the last time he lost to TANG Peng. These are some developmental years, Paul.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it? 10 years, absolutely. But he'll be trying to, the man in red, just really rekindle that fond memory of all those years ago when he had his last win. It should be interesting. And incidentally, TANG Peng is, according to Ian Marshall, the voice of authority, the Chinese national champion in 2003. And in a year to qualify it, where perhaps the top 8 didn't play, but still, what a title for him. Can you believe that?
Yeah, being Chinese national champion, I mean, many will say that winning a tournament in China is tougher than winning almost any World Tour event. Even if you look at the Olympic Games, while the pressure is built, and there's no greater pressure than winning the Olympic Games, from the amount of Chinese opponents you can play, the top players in the world, you only have 2 in singles. And you can hear Dimitrij OVTCHAROV on the exhale out there, warming up his forehand loop. Be a very interesting match here. I think we talked a little bit about TANG Peng's equipment. So short pips on the backhand side.
Yeah.
So this is unusual at this level of play. We don't see too many players in the men's game, especially with short pips on either side of the racket, the exception of a few defenders, including Yuto Muramatsu, who took out Vladimir Samsonov yesterday in a thrilling match. If you didn't catch it live, make sure you go back when we're all done with the broadcast to ITTF.com/ITTV. To enjoy all of the rematches, or all the replays of the matches from yesterday, you can subscribe to the ITTF YouTube channel for highlight videos as well. So Dimitrij Ovtcharov, one of few players to really be a threat to the Chinese, had 3 years in the Chinese Super League, not playing this year, but 2013, 14, and 2015, and overall had a winning record in the Chinese Super League. I think a lot of people forget that. They just assume that any European who's there or any non-Chinese player probably has a losing record. But Dima had 2 very successful seasons. In 2015, it wasn't quite as strong, but overall, still a winning record. So, Paul, you've done a bit of European table tennis, had a chance to see Dima winning. Anything you're really looking forward to out here in this match?
I love the sort of innovation and the creative mindset with his serving. I think he's very left brain, and that's kind of really exciting to play. And I think that's what has made him the great European hope, isn't it? And the solitary European representative left in this tournament, of course, because we saw Samsonov ousted on the opening day yesterday. So, well, it's all down to him. But European fans, frankly, but he's used to that kind of pressure, and he's used to be hanging around deep in these kind of tournaments. But for me, I love the grunt, I love his physicality, and he's a big man when you meet him in the flesh. You know, relatively big for table tennis. So can he impose himself here? Well, time will tell.
All right, so TANG Peng is going to start off with the serve in this best-of-7 match. So as we were talking about, with the short pips on the backhand side, TANG Peng is going to have a little bit more pressure to make his shots, a bit flatter trajectory, more punching shots on the backhand side. Still, he finds himself far from the table and staying in the point quite effectively. I think Dima's backhand, Dimitrij Ovtcharov, the backhand that beat Zhang Jike in 2014 at the World Championships. His backhand, the amount of speed and spin that he can generate with such a short stroke.
You could see just how torqued up that wrist angle was there. It's just sort of hyper-extending. Very Fan Zhendong-like, in fact.
Right, that's the Chiquita, the banana flip. And as far as service errors, Dimitrij Ovtcharov with some very high-pressure serves. We've seen under pressure many times service errors in crucial moments. It's still early in this match, though. Well played right into the body. When you get a high ball at this level, instead of trying to play the wings, you commonly see the ball hit right into the body, as Dima demonstrates perfectly.
And gunning for the forehand, presumably more of TANG Peng as well. Backhand is deemed to be the stronger side, right?
Tough to say. It can be threatening, definitely, because it's tougher to counter a flat hit. TANG Peng's also going to, while he will be threatening with that backhand punch, you're right.
So presumably with the short pips as well, Adam, you can, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but given that it's a flatter contact, would that make him less effective further from the table because he doesn't have that spin off the racket?
It's definitely going to be a lower percentage shot for him. He's going to be much more threatening in over the table right at the back. Yeah, you got that right. Now for Dima, there's also an issue, I would say, with confidence sometimes, and he's got Jorg Roskopf in the corner. As a coach, it's sort of like you're the player's psychologist, cheerleader, friend, and parent all at the same time. You just have to know how to talk to them and bring out the best performance each time, you know?
Yeah, but Jorg Roskopf, that must be like a second, sort of relationship. I mean, they've been together for so long, haven't they? They know each other intuitively over the years so well.
Quite an honor, too, really, playing for, a German hero. To have a hero in your corner just seems like someone who really knows what they're doing and can say that they've done it. Should bring you some confidence as well.
And interestingly, sharing time with Dima the other night, we both happened to be sharing the same bus on the way back late at night to the hotels. I thought he was staying in the Players Hotel, but he's not. He elects to stay on his own. He's quite a private man. He likes his own space and time, and well, he kind of values going for a swim in the morning in the sea, he was saying, and just doing little things like that, managing to break the mold and get away from table tennis a little bit. I think that brings that kind of angle of freshness to him that he really looks for.
There's a good example of how it's difficult to calibrate yourself to the lack of spin on the ball. 2 backhands in a row, the second one a little bit flatter. Dima trying to lift. He knows he has to keep it out of the net. Any of you at home who've played short pips, flat hitters know that the counters often find the net. You just have to lift a bit more.
That thing is just loaded with spin.
Service warning here.
Respectfully acknowledged.
Really? I like that. Really? Rachel Ramos, Philippines star umpire, the rock star umpire, says yes. Really?
He knew that spin, well, the serve was so loaded it was coming back to his forehand as the third ball for sure. Look at that. Pop-up receive, forehand flip kill. He's run that sequence in his mind's eye so much, as well as on the practice table. Here he goes again. Same serve, maybe. That's what I love about Dima, that physicality, really imposing himself out there.
Yeah, the service, it's interesting. He moves a little bit more to the center of the table, changes up the placement. Every once in a while, you'll see an attempted chop like that with the short pips from TANG Peng. He's gotten many points, got many balls back on the table playing defensively with the short pips. There's the rocket backhand. This is a signature Dima shot.
And what a change of pace. Absolutely. Look at this. Unloading on that one. A lot of extra torque and snap.
For me, one thing Dima has to do that he's done so far quite well is keep his balance when he comes in to get back for his shot. Oh, just missing the corner. Look at this from off the table. TANG Peng chopping it back, still going bold, going for broke down the line.
It's kind of audacious, wasn't it? Look at this.
You're talking about physical players. TANG Peng starting to twiddle there. That's some time that you'll see a twiddle, when someone knows they need the top spin on the counter loop. Serve drifting just a little bit too long. TANG Peng taking advantage, getting the opening attack quite strong. Just amazing how little difference for contact on the racket, the first bounce on your side of the table, can really mean when it comes off the table on the other side. A few centimeters here and there determines the point.
That's a really big receive.
And this can be said about many players taking the first game, getting some confidence, some momentum. I think for Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, despite dominating Europe in 2015, he's had a few bumpy rides. 2016, Jakub Diaz took him down.
Such a good counter-attacker, TANG Peng, isn't he? Just snapping back when you least expect it. He's reflexive and quick. Good doubles player over the years. One of the best players to have never won a World Tour title. His best was the Chile Open, 2005. He was runner-up there.
There's that backhand once again, even from out in front. We talked about the height of Dima, the fact that he's able to use this wrist so well.
Yeah, there's a lot of snap on it, isn't there? A lot of pop.
Yeah, and there has to be, you know, when you're his height, being able to stay loose and play loose. It's part of the reason Vladimir Samsonov at age 40 is still in the top 10, is that he's able to play so relaxed and use his height well. 2 game points for Dima. Long push, caught an indecision. A deep ball back to the backhand corner. You can see the pressure starting to build. The body language of Dimitrij OVTCHAROV definitely telling.
One more serve to get this opening game under his belt.
Heavy topspin serve, a little bit shorter on the table, earns the third ball attack. TANG Peng a little bit defenseless here on this receive. Just not enough. Dima takes it, 11 points to 9 over TANG Peng, and we'll be back for game 2 right after this. As the players come back for game two, Dimitrij Ovtcharov in the lead. You could see by the narrowest of margins there in game one. And as you mentioned, he likes to take his time. I'd say a player of certain habits and people having their own little rhythms and idiosyncrasies out here, what they like to do. Traditions, if you will. Beautiful forehand flip. That was not an easy ball, and you couldn't tell where he was going to go until the point of contact.
That's the thing, you know, these serves are so good. Look at the pop-up receive. That's all that Tang Peng could do.
Not this time. Ball drifts a little bit too long. Short side of the table with confidence. Need to be Chinese national champion. Talked about that earlier. 2003, you said?
Yeah.
And out here, just taking that serve, taking advantage of one that drifts a little long and wide. Whenever Dima gets that first backhand in with power, it's going to be real tough for Tang Peng to really stay in the point.
Yeah, without backing off the table.
That's right.
Missing that flip kill. Just a little cumbersome around that one.
And I like Tang Peng's positioning there. He holds his ground, keeps the pressure on Dima. Watch, doesn't move at all. Dima sees a move, he knows where to go, but if you move too early, that's what you're setting up. You're often stepping into a problem. Once again, serve drifts too long. Dima's gonna have to tighten up that serve. He's moved it around well. We've seen him sometimes serve it long into the backhand. And while he has many flashy serves, like we haven't seen the tomahawk yet this match, his pendulum serve, while more traditional, still might be the most effective serve he has.
Sorry.
Quick apology from Dima for maybe the back edge of the table. Seemed like the shot was a little bit unintentional. Forced into a quick reaction shot on the backhand side.
It's a very unique kind of serve, isn't it, from Ovtcharov? Really quite distinct. And as you said, you know, just adding to his sort of quirkiness.
Yeah, he definitely has a few signature serves. Excellent angle. Tang Peng playing it too wide, out of reach of the tall Dimitrij Ovtcharov.
Nice tight short serve as well to set the point up. Beautiful.
Look at the bend on that ball. Just taking the inside of it, guaranteeing that it's going to bend away. It's a bit of a break there for Dima. Solid touch shot in the blocking game, but not a ton of pressure here. Definitely knew he was going to have to back off and try to crawl his way back in, fight. One of my favorite matches of Dimitrij Ovtcharov was actually 2 years ago at the World Tour Grand Finals in Bangkok. It was the final match. It was against Jun Mizutani, just thrilling. And here's one of those signature serves. Iconic even in the forehand follow-up attack for the point. Watch the placement on this serve. A little bit shorter, forces Tang Peng to play a defensive shot. And with that bit of topspin on it, it's also really tough to keep it low and short. It's where the third ball in the short game, the flip kill, comes in handy. Oh,
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Talked about turning or moving just a little bit early. Watch Tang Peng's anticipation. He's already stepped around. Dima notices. In many sports, peripheral vision is so important. Not only having a sense of what's likely to happen, but noticing when your opponent moves. Quick decisions made all the time here.
Yeah, these guys making hundreds of decisions almost every point, aren't they, in terms of, as you say, peripheral vision, shot selection, strategy.
That backhand, he earned himself the time to tuck back away and just rip through it. Long push comes back.
Could watch this all day long.
Yeah, and that placement on the serve, again, right at the baseline into the backhand. He's keeping it unpredictable for Tang Peng. Right on the crossover point.
Bullying his way through the second game of Ovtcharov. European fans delighted with these kind of images they're seeing.
5 game points for Dima to step into a 2-0 lead. Look at this, soft shot for a second bounce on the table, and the aggressive likes of Tang Peng cannot contact. Dima 11-5, more dominant than game 1, and we'll be back for game 3 right after this.
So that is the second game to Dimitrij OVTCHAROV. He takes the second game 11-5.
Back for game number 3, Dima toweling off, getting prepared and ready. Now we talk about this match a little bit, but looking at the history, I mean, he's been dominant over Tang Peng for the last decade.
It's going to take a gigantic effort from Tang Peng to haul this back, you'd imagine, psychologically, as you're implying, Adam. That's a big ask, having not beaten the man in black in 10 years.
You can see every shot's a little bit different, though. Once it comes off the backhand of Tang Peng, it forces Dimitrij OVTCHAROV to improvise a little bit, play something he's not used to, figure out how much to lift. In the last shot, there was a little bit of hesitation there. It was more of a punch than a loop. Trying for the Fan Zhendong shot of the year.
Yeah, the roller ball.
Yeah.
Under the clamp.
Very difficult angle there. Not too many places to go. For a little bit of side spin one direction can help out. This is how a long serve is supposed to be played, deep on the table, right into the body with a follow-up attack. When you serve long, you know it's going to come back long, most likely. You're going to get a ball. Start the action quickly. Ooh, surprise punch from over the table. Tang Peng with a bit of innovation on the receive.
Yeah, the way he slid his body out the way of this was really quite clever. Look at that, and then just takes it rather late and just comes around the outside of the ball. Beautiful off backhand winning return.
Woo, short side of the table. Looked like he had to loosen up the grip of the racket just to reach it. We'll see that from time to time. Watch the hand of Tang Peng on this forehand.
Cheeky monkey. That was really clever.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Tang Peng didn't seem too happy about that decision, just taking it a little bit softer. Again, if your opponent's off the table, behind, waiting for a fast-paced shot like Dima started to step back, sometimes playing it a little softer creates a less comfortable ball from out in front for your opponent. And the long almost chop there for a push. Tang Peng quickly giving up the opportunity to attack. Backing up to get into the rally, but Dima, that wide angle inside out.
He's pouncing all over ball 3 behind his own serve so well.
Yeah, and he really set it up nicely. Again, a long serve into the backhand. You could see the off-balance step around from Tang Peng. It leaves open the down-the-line shot. Apology, the fortune off the top of the net for Dima.
Very gracious man, humble.
These are the backhands. Now, I would say some of the top players in the world, by Chinese standards, the backhands, the power, not just the power, but the amount of sweet spot they have Dima right there covers the middle a little bit, leans in, but still manages to make a powerful shot. Most players are going to get a weaker ball there. Smart play from Dima to take it cross court, but he was handcuffed, and Tang Peng was waiting right there for the counter. Look at the position he's left in, right at the back of the table. It's quite easy in that situation to try to float it back up or play a soft shot, but it's a very unlikely way to stay in the point. Fan Zhendong and Koki Niwa did it effectively against each other on a few occasions.
Again, trying to get in behind the serve like a rocket, but denied by a terrific receive from Tang Peng here.
Yeah, and watch it drift just off the table a little bit long. On the forehand side, Tang Peng is going to be less likely to push, unless it's very, like if it's half long right at the back of the table. But as soon as he notices it's coming off, he's going to get the first attack. I guess the quality of the attack is the question. If Dima can keep it close to the table, it might be just sort of a softer topspin shot to counter.
And given the psychology of all that we've spoken about with the 7-1 head-to-head advantage for the German player, Tang Peng, really, this is a must-win game to stay afloat out here.
That's right. I think from a confidence standpoint, you also have to wonder, we talked yesterday about how coming into any match, players have to believe that they can win.
And that's got to be etched deep into the psyche as well. You can't just be, you know, frothy thinking about it, maybe. You've got to really believe in your strengths, because otherwise you'll be found out.
Right, so for Tang Peng out here, you have to wonder a little bit what his tactics are. Maybe to set up that inside-out forehand to play more punchy backhands. But like any other game, the first 2 shots of the rally are going to be the most important shots to set up the points or to set the tone.
Well, that's exactly what the man in blue and black does, doesn't it? The first, you know, the serve and the first ball after. He is just impeccable at the moment.
Oh, he had his fist clinched. This is not the first time we've seen this happen to a player, or Dima specifically. Watch one more time. The big step around forehand. His fist is already in choke position. And the choke becomes a choke as Tang Peng right to the last square inch of the table.
Yeah, but his balance was supreme there, Tang Peng. He was pushed hard, but steadfast.
It's the third chop-like shot we saw in that rally from Tang Peng. Managed to get one attack in, and you can see him shadow rehearsing there. His chop on the backhand side. Seen him keep the ball on the table that way. It's just a rare way for him to win a point. Every once in a while, if he floats it back. We got a timeout here. Lu Guodong in the corner for the Hong Kong player, Tang Peng. Like many players, actually left China to play for a different association. Now, Jörg Roskopf, funny enough, had a chance to watch him live playing in the U.S. North American Teams Tournament. And he beat, I believe it was the top-rated player. I think he's the #1 player, Wei Wang, for the U.S. Open coming up next week. And Roskopf, coming out of his coaching shoes, he's still playing a bit.
Is he?
But that's just amazing to come out here and perform. He said his body was quite sore for days after. He was spent. But he says against the chopper, against the defender, he still has some feeling, some chance. Which is interesting. I read a lot of YouTube comments about the Vladimir Samsonov match yesterday against Muramatsu. So a lot of people disagreeing on Vladdy's record against choppers. Now, against Panagiotis Jonis specifically, he's 4-4. He's had some trouble. But generally speaking, I mean, Jusei Hyuk, the best choppers in the game, Samsonov has been very much in control. So you never know style matchups. So out here, we'll see if Tang Peng can make a case for himself. Style is definitely unusual for Dima to face, despite their 8 head-to-head encounters, 7 of which Dima has won. Love to see that serve again. Not sure if Dima couldn't quite hear what he said. Look at the placement here. Well-placed half long to the forehand side. And now 2 game points for Tang Peng to get his first game, a crucial game on the scoreboard. This is a beautiful change of pace from Dima. The serve down the line, Tang Peng not fooled. He waits until the contact. It's actually a very good serve from Dima, but Tang Peng has learned his lesson stepping around in the past. One more serve here, and a receive to win it. seemed like an in-between, a bit of a loop. We see short pips players from time to time loop. Nima Ito does it quite well. But that one, it was not a punch, not super aggressive. Now he's in the serve after 2 game points have gone away to Dima's play.
Thunderous backhand finish from Dima there. Totally committed to that one. 3 in a row for the German.
That's not an easy ball either. He's at the back of the table. I thought that was a solid receive touch shot half long. Dima really took a risk there, but went all in confidently. Speaking of confidence, it's not the first time we've seen Tang Peng recognize the ball coming off the table, but to the backhand corner, he gets a full inside-out stroke. Ties it back up. Look how quickly he knows it's coming off the table. Before it's bounced the second time, he's already made his move for that forehand attack. This comes from experience, playing matches, taking serves. Changes it up a little bit, this time a bit more secure shot for that spinny ball. And again, less spin than an inverted rubber, but more than the flat hits that we've seen from Tang Peng. Something new for Dima to deal with, an in-between spinny backhand. So 3rd game point for Tang Peng. Well served. Bit of backspin on it this time. Tang Peng, no question about how he feels about that receive. The emoji contest expressing himself quite clearly. So as the score always is at the 4th towel break, it's tied up at 12-all. Dima really does take his time at the towel. I think there's something to be said about confidence. It's like the nobody tells me what to do.
Yeah, just waiting, keeping the scoreboard pressure on Tang Peng. It's a must-win game for him, really. It's a good response, though.
Really like the whip of the racket, the way he sort of loosened up and fanned back with the wrist before the contact.
It's like an elastic wrist snap, isn't it?
Absolutely.
He's great on the counter, very dangerous. But he can't put the game to bed, can he?
Having some trouble here, has the opportunity. So many times we've seen him win this point. He takes it a little bit softer with the forehand and changes the placement to the middle of the table. Dima's backhand, dangerous though when he's got time. Smart play, short side of the table for the step around parallel shot. As far as putting games to bed, it's another look here. The night lights are set.
But he's got his own, oh no he hasn't, it's OVTCHAROV serve.
His receive game has been pretty strong. Let's see where Dima decides to place this serve though. Long to the backhand and the solid receive, a long push from Tang Peng to take it. 15 points to 13 and this match starts to get interesting. Game 4, let's see what happens. Coming back right after this.
15-13, but Dimitrij leads by 2 games to 1.
Back for game number 4. Paul, you and I were talking a bit about the variation we're seeing from Tang Peng out here.
Yeah, I love the spike down the line off the backhand particularly. He's very versatile and particularly quick and dynamic and quick perception skills on the counter. Great to watch because you've got the all-out aggression of Dima. And then Tang Peng, well, in response, just quite something.
Right, now in the short pips game, it seems like you might have less opportunities than with inverted rubber. You can't create quite as much spin, but Mima Ito is a great example of how versatile a backhand can be, or a shot with short pips. Tang Peng started to spin the ball a little bit more late in the game, break the rhythm that Dima might have been settling into with the flatter shots, and even getting his step around forehand into play. That's going to be a key ingredient, I think, for Tang Peng, keeping it unpredictable. This is quite true of the underdog in almost any match. Look at the power here on the counter.
Blistering, a crack on the ball.
This is the importance of placement, too. Tang Peng with a strong opening attack. If it's right where Dima expects it, he can confidently keep up with the pace. Again, 3 seasons in Chinese Super League. Speed isn't going to be the issue for Dima. Placement. And speaking of placement, watch where this ball comes into the body of Dima. See, he gets blown back a little bit, having to try to bring the elbow into the body more. Doesn't get the full forehand stroke. Well played on the middle. It's that wrist we've talked about, Paul, from over the table can generate so much spin and speed.
Off of a nothing ball as well. He doesn't need oncoming pace. We noticed that with Mima Ito actually getting back to her. It's tough for a diminutive stature person to generate that kind of pace. OVTCHAROV very physical. He's a brute of a man, 6 foot plus. Heavy guy, but boy, can he move well. He's super agile with it. But he's got his work cut out now. Tang Peng buoyed by the fact that he's got a game under his belt, making a real fist of this now.
From this camera angle, it's tough to tell. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that was an ace. I don't think he kissed it with his racket. Let's take a look.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree on that. I was just thinking why it caused so much trouble. The kick there, the distance from the back of the table. Tang Peng has hit some shots off the forehand side and even on the backhand that are pretty close to the back edge of the table. There's that softer, spinny backhand. And it's all relative. I mean, both of these players very physically strong, so a softer shot still decent enough, but ball comes back into the bottom of the net from Dima. Again, if it's inverted rubber, Dima's shot probably would have made it. It's less spin. But he reads the flat hit well. The rocket backhand that you would expect from Tang Peng with short pips. Yeah, from that angle you could see how much of a flat, almost like the boxing nun, just the punch right through the ball.
Yeah, very contrasting backhands, those two. Good example of it there.
Can't recall a point that Tang Peng has won with a defensive shot on the backhand from off the table. There was a spinning backhand to open, but once the chop starts coming into play, it hasn't bothered Dima even when it's come down.
Yeah, Dima's bullying his way through that kind of point. Just back of the table getting in the way there. It was a nice short response from Tang Peng.
Yeah, and in terms of over-the-table play, you know, we talked about Dima's speed. I think relative to his size, he is fast. He plays a faster game than Vladi, for example. He just takes bigger shots, more expensive strokes. Oh, look at this, rushing into the table. The fact that he even saved the ball before and he leaves Tang Peng stunned, just overbitten, sitting there with his teeth out watching this. Drop shot, one more drop shot, and the punch. The ball wasn't very high when he hit it either.
He knew there was no coming back either. He just had to have a fling at that.
Taking some risks, and it pays off for Dima. Just talking about the speed of Dima, I mean, compared to some of the other top players in the world, you know, out of the top 6 in the world, as fast as Dima is at world number 6, he's got to be the slowest of the top 6. And he comes in to prove his speed, taking the risk.
Just a little greedy there, though, wasn't he? Overhit that one. Slightly off balance, possibly.
Now, fortunately, to make up for some of the really fast movements, the power on the backhand side, I guess he's got power on both sides, but the short stroke of the backhand compared to the length of the stroke, the amount of power he gets is just uncanny. But trying to lift the ball much like you would against a chop, really just coming up against the spin on the push. Just misses the contact. This is one of the difficulties of playing against Tang Peng and his very versatile shots. It's tough to calibrate how much spin is on which shot, how much you need to lift and when. Timing is quite different. Hits the hand. We got a timeout. Roscoff calling it over here on his feet. Wants to make sure that the piñata is not cracked, that the candy that Dima has does not pour out. After a 2-0 lead. I mean, we've seen it happen before. This is sort of the change in momentum. I liken it to a piñata because a breaking of confidence could become an unstoppable flood of a comeback from the opponent.
Yeah, it feels like the momentum is really shifting back in the way of Tang Peng. So great idea of your Roscoff to call the timeout timely, very sensible.
Well,
Great
Roscoff,
momentum.
yeah, I mean, we're talking a legend of the sport, you know. He's inspired German players for decades now to be one of the top teams in the world, just behind China. After having a rough year in Malaysia at the World Championships, still one of the top teams to contend for a title. When I think about what Dima has done effectively on the serves, when he served long and into the backhand from the pendulum serve and even his crouching backhand serve, long into the backhand from Tang Peng, if he mixes it up and Tang Peng doesn't step around, I guess from the pendulum serve, Dima's less likely to get the step around because he can keep it really deep to the backhand. But we aren't to Dima's serves yet. Still one more serve here for Tang Peng. For Tang Peng to win that point, that is not an easy play. See it one more time here. The real juice of the point happened before that for me when Tang Peng softened up the shot and got Dima chasing it around a bit in the back court.
Stamp of authority of his foot after the serve, kind of indicating that he was on a mission here. Beautiful, sets up the pop-up receive.
Yeah, this is a big point as far as Stamps, just letting him know that he's here by winning that point, icing the, well, not even icing the kicker, just breaking the momentum on the comeback, really. One more time, this one even better than the one before, moving in. This is Dima at his best. When he can make shots like this with his backhand, he's a threat to anybody in the world.
Yeah, he's just on it so quickly. He doesn't allow you any rhyme or rhythm. You just can't settle into the match because he's just bullying his way through again, which is what we were akin to seeing in the opening 2 games. He's back on form, just a point away from really snatching a 3-1 lead here.
And if he does that, the timeout will have been worth it. He did lose the first point out of the timeout, but got 2 out of the next 3. Mistimed heavy spin shot drops a little bit low for Dima. As far as centers of gravity, got to see Koki Niwa play. Always seems to be ready, but look how low Dima had to get there to play the ball from the middle of the body a little bit. It's a little bit closer to the elbow on the forehand side anyway. One more game point for Dima on the receive. Let's see if that backhand comes in here. And it does
Smart
not.
serve.
Yeah.
Half long to the forehand, short side of the table.
I really wonder what would have happened if he had gone for the Chiquita, if he had stepped around to take that backhand from over the table. It's a little bit risky because you leave open the deep backhand for your 4th ball, or the 4th ball. There's a steady backhand. Nothing too greedy. That look around from Tang Peng, not quite sure what it was. Every once in a while, when games get tight, players tend to serve the ball a bit closer to the body, bringing up the question of, is it still visible? Let's see what we get for a serve here against game point for Tang Peng. Ooh, what a way to win a point. The chop comes down, but follows up with the backhand. The short pips loop from in near the table. Look at this one more time. Looked like he thought he might be able to punch it, lets the ball drop just a little bit, takes the spinny shot from down low. Oh, but he twiddled. Saw he turned the black side around. That's why he was able to generate so much spin and surprise Dima. Clever guy. Beautiful shot right down the line. The pressure, quick to do it. This is not the traditional Dima backhand either. He doesn't go with the snappy, wristy shot cross court.
Good mental toughness there, though, from the European. Big, big moment, that. Can he do it again? What's this, 4th game point?
Yeah, it is. I think that's a smart decision for Dima to try. This is what I was curious about the last time he got that serve half long. Look at the placement, though. And he tries to take it mostly with wrist there. I mean, that's what you have to do from over the table. We do see with Fan Zhendong and Zhang Jike that they will really tuck the racket back. As far as grips on the... Yeah, you'll see grips on the racket change a little bit from forehand to backhand. The thumb will come up to the middle of the racket a little bit more. And that shot looked very familiar with the thumb up in the center of the racket for Dima to have a mostly wrist shot, as opposed to the tuck that I was talking about with Fan Zhendong. Inside, fools him with the shoulder movement there. Opens up the shoulders. Watch one more time.
Yeah, but he saw Peng go here.
And this
saw
is
that
why.
shimmy to the other side, and then there was the hole in the court.
And this is TANG Peng moving out of desperation. He's popped up the receive just a little bit. He's going to have trouble holding still for that. Has to back off. 5th game point for Dima. Missed contact on the forehand after a solid short receive. A big game, and the timeout pays off. It's the 2nd deuce game in a row. 14-12 for Dima to take a 3-1 lead. We'll be back for game 5 after this short break.
14-12, he leads by 3 games to 1.
Back for game number 5 after 2 very close games, 3 and 4. Dima fixing the shorts and collar, getting ready for some more action out here. Again, 2 tight games, losing his first of the match in game 3, but TANG Peng starting off with the serve in the driver's seat. Those grunts tend to be a good thing, for Dima anyway. Sort of a rhythm creator for him. It is interesting to hear how people criticize, fans criticize shouting players and yells, but for them it's often almost like a mantra. Some versatility from the backhand corner. TANG Peng trying the step around here from off the table. We're seeing a very different tactic out here. Spinnier shots from TANG Peng. Trying to put a little bit more steady pressure on Dima, rather than going for the high-risk flat shots. Little help off the top of the net, but the forehand flip. Dima's percentages have been quite good over the table with the forehand flip. Look how low that ball is when he contacts it. Spinnier shot, arcing it up, a good traditional forehand loop for TANG Peng. Paul, TANG Peng's experience seems to be paying off a lot, that he's able to pull out so many different clever ideas and try different shots.
Yeah, he's right up against it, isn't he? Because OVTCHAROV's bringing a lot in terms of the way that he can assault him and just really bully his way through. But as you say, TANG Peng just dangerous. He can just bite back when you least expect it, and he flashes some great counter blocks and loops every now and then. He's an awkward customer, that's for sure.
Right, the unpredictability factor, the fact that he has twiddled the racket and looped with both sides on the backhand. I mean, the last point that he won, he was looping with the short pips, but a few points before in last game.
Twiddled.
Yeah, he twiddled and looped. So while on paper, we expect Dima to take this game in the match, the way Tang Peng has been playing, and the fact that it's dead even here, you never know. In table tennis, this is the beauty of the sport. Anything can happen. We've seen upsets throughout this tournament, throughout the year on the World Tour. What a recovery shot from Tang Peng back on the table, but Dima stays close, takes advantage of the angle.
Yeah, all the momentum can just change in a heartbeat, can't it? It's a game that can just shift on millimeter here and there, definitely. Dima in that kind of form, just throwing his body at the ball on the forehand kill. Body language good, demeanor very positive.
Yeah, for Dima.
He's on a mission.
I was impressed with Tang Peng to stay in this point. From early on, the serve from Dima was perfect. Right at the back edge of the table into the corner. Tang Peng having to play a push from the baseline. It's the best setup you can get when you're serving.
It's a 3 in a row for OVTCHAROV.
That sure is. I was thinking about the greatest comebacks I've seen. It's funny, he talked about the national championships in China in 2003. Ma Lin, the greatest comebacks I've seen against Wang Jianjun. It's probably the only one to really trump to oversee the comeback of Xu Xin against Junmi Zutani in Kuwait. Kyoka Kato recently over Mima Ito, I think was down 2-9. Oh, serve comes long, exploited quickly. Tang Peng, he's sneaky.
He's not done yet. Wounded bear syndrome. Backs up against the wall and he's come out swinging. And he's only 3-point deficit now.
That's what bears do?
Taking his time there, right? Wounded bear.
A wounded bear back against the wall and they start swinging.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
The wall of the tree in the woods.
Wow. To learn more about bears.
Just keep watching The Revenant.
Yeah, that's right. Had some good chats about one of Paul's favorite movies.
Yeah, I love that film.
Tang Peng's body positioning, when he receives the serve, he gets his legs right in. Every once in a while, depending on the type of table, you'll hear someone kick the cage. Very loud noise. This table, that won't be happening. Oh, break off the top of the net. Looked like the ball came back over on the bounce.
It did for a second, didn't it? And then it sort of teetered his side. Unlucky for the Hong Kong player.
I think for Dima, I think Tang Peng took the point, right?
Did he?
I think so. I think it touched on Dima's side and came back over the net. We didn't get to see the replay, but that's how it appeared to me.
Didn't see that from our angle.
Yeah, and then the scoreboard, I guess. So as it starts to tighten up, so will the muscles of both players, but Dima more so than Tang Peng. It's going to be motivation to keep Tang Peng fired up. Dima might get a little bit tense here. No timeouts left. Ooh, very patient, smart play. Dima watches it a little bit long and plays it to the short side of the table. Not an easy ball to take. But it sits up just a little bit, which gives him the time he needs. Tang Peng is going to have to keep the balls as low to the net as possible on his loops. Wow! That was the replay. Out of the 4 hand flips that I've seen this tournament, and we've seen a lot so far, Dima's percentages are incredible right now. This whole match, he's only missed 1 or 2, maybe.
Because by nature, they're a low percentage shot, aren't they? But good body position, respectful.
That's right, 4 match points for Dima. And that's all he needs. The fist is clinched and the match is sealed. Dima 4-1 over Tang Peng to continue his unbeaten tradition. The last 8 matches they've played now have gone to Dima. He will continue on in the tournament. Tang Peng will become a spectator, just like you. Stick around. We got a little bit of a break here for everyone to grab some delicious, healthy food. We'll see what happens. Right now, the schedule is Ding Ding versus Han Ying. We'll keep you posted on Ding Ding's help and what's going to be happening. Either way, it'll be an exciting match, whoever it is that's playing. We'll see you in a bit.
First match on the agenda is women's singles quarterfinal, Ding Ding versus Tang Peng. And that will be followed by a second women's singles quarterfinal match, Zhu Yulin against Cheng Jing. And then completing the evening with two men's singles quarterfinals. First of all, Chuan against Jun Jing, and then Marlon